What up, and welcome to a new episode of Tales from the Crypt. I'm your host, John, along with my co-host.
Father Alan. This is the podcast.
That's
of
right.
Tales from the Crypt.
That's right, the podcast. We got to make sure we say that over and over. It's a podcast, sorry. And we're
This
excited.
is not the full episode.
Yeah, and we're excited.
Podcast.
Yeah, it's a podcast. We're excited. There's no video format yet. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I know that's another thing people complain about. I'm sorry, but this episode's great. And we're going to talk about how great this episode is. Anyway, yeah, how you been? Because we haven't talked in really talked 2 weeks, I think.
Oh yeah, I've been good. Just been keeping busy with work and just living that stepdad life and just getting over these allergies. That we had a big windstorm coming out through here in Vegas. It's like fucking the mummy out here. The Himmeltemp's coming. All the sand and the empty lot of nothing just blowing through out here. So other than that, yeah, I've been pretty good, man. How about you?
I could complain, but who would care? They'd get upset about
Yeah, we're being too depressed or unenthusiastic
or not
about life.
Yeah, about life or episodes or whatever the case may be. But yeah,
If you listen to what we talk about, it's pretty depressing. So, but we won't get into it. This is,
yes, that's true.
Uplifting,
we do talk.
positive podcast.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so this episode of Tales from the Crypt, we're on season 2 still. We're almost done. It was the season 2, episode 13, titled "My Brother's Keeper." And this episode is one of my favorites, I think, growing up as a kid. I thought I liked this one, too. These last 3 episodes in my opinion, for Tales from the Crypt Season 2 are strong. And it's like, I really do like these last 3. I think people don't like the last one, but we'll talk about that when we get to that episode. But this episode is pretty good, and you sent me the comic book that it came out of. It came out of Shock Suspense Stories. It doesn't say what number this one is, but it's unless you
I'd have to go back and do a little
16.
research on it. But yeah, there is a comic based on this episode, which is slightly a bit different than how this episode plays out. But
yes,
yeah, I'm not sure how much you want to get into it on that. Compare, but
you didn't
you didn't drastic
prepare?
Difference there.
You didn't prepare for this, not for the podcast. I mean, like
I skimmed through the comic.
I was like, how? When you first told me you skimmed through it, like we were supposed to record this last week, and I wasn't in the mood, right? I don't know. I don't know what happened. Some shit happened, but I wasn't in the mood, and you were. And then I was like, oh, I wasn't not in the mood, but it was like it was like a day when, like everything's like not depressed, just like like a day, you know. So I wasn't depressed or anything. I was just like, I don't want to really do it and whatever. So, but I read it the day you sent it to me. It's only 4 pages, and you were like, "Oh yeah, I skimmed through it." I was like, "Oh, bro, it's 4 pages." I was like, "Not that much."
Through the 4 pages.
Yeah, no, it's a good like interestingly enough, the comic is pretty good, and this is yes, you're right. The episode is very different than the comic. Besides the fact that
the only difference I think of is there's slight differences. Well, I mean, we'll get into it. There just isn't like a courtroom scene. I think that's like
in the comic there. In the episode, there isn't. Yeah. No, but it's very different. It's very different than the comic. I mean, it's the same story, but the brother's name, one of the brothers' names has changed. But anyway, let's talk about this episode first, and then we'll maybe I'll talk about the comic book during the conversation of the episode. But so this episode written by Peter S. Seaman, right?
Peter S. Seaman, he co-wrote For Crying Out Loud. That's the other episode he was a part of. So that's like the correlation with this one. I don't think he directed that one, but I think he co-wrote that one.
Yes, he did.
And in this one, he's directing it.
He wrote this with Jeffrey Price. But For Crying Out Loud, Jeffrey Price directed that one, and Seaman and Price wrote this one together. So I guess they worked together. I think we talked about that earlier because I looked at their IMDb, and every movie they've worked on, they worked together on, which they worked on.
Yeah, I've seen the co-collabs on this, on these, at least from what we've seen on the show so far.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing to take note of.
Yeah, and I was going to say they worked on Shrek the Third. I was surprised. I was like, wow. And The Last Holiday, that they wrote that movie with Queen Latifah. I think we talked about that before.
But the one with Double L Cool J?
Yeah. And this episode stars Timothy Stack and Jonathan Stark. You said something about Jonathan Stark. He's from what? You said?
I don't remember if I mentioned where he was
Oh
from.
no, you said he looked like Christian Bale or something, right?
It kind of looks like yeah, Christian Slater.
Oh, Christian Slater. Okay, I'm the one that said. I said he was in Fright Night. He was like.
Yeah, that part is right for sure. I just mentioned he looked like Christian Slater to me.
I thought Christian Bale. I think it's the Christian name, but yeah. So that's Jonathan Stark. Timothy Stack. I always thought he was like a big comedian. Or whenever I would like see this episode, I go, "Oh, this guy." And then I looked at his IMDb, and I'm like, I don't see a goddamn thing he's in that I would have known about, right? And then finally it hit me. Also, I saw it on IMDb. I'm like, that's where I know him from, and comedy. He was on Howard Stern's Son of the Beach, which is probably the worst thing ever made.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was on.
That was the thing he was hyping up, wasn't it? Like some TV show on what channel was it?
FX. It was FX first.
Ooh, Robin.
FX was when FX started when I was a kid. It was just doing
like Baywatch, right?
Yes, it was a spoof of Baywatch. But when FX started when I was a kid, it was basically just in living color reruns. Like that's all I remember was on it. They had really nothing, and I think they had Mad TV also. I think that they were more like, I don't know. It was just a subsidiary of Fox, so they'd show whatever Cops most of the time, and then it was in living color at night that I remember seeing the old reruns. And then Son of the Beach was like the first show they were doing, I think, to my memory. And it was Howard Stern's Son of the Beach, try to get, people to watch because he was supposedly, I guess not supposedly, he was the king of all media, self-proclaimed. So yeah, so Timothy Stack was there. He was the David Hasselhoff of, but I've never seen the episode ever. I think it came on way too late because it was supposedly like too raunchy or something.
I remember the commercials. I feel like I saw them during one of the wrestling shows at some point. It rang the bell to me, but never seen an episode.
I have a funny feeling they were at WWE for something, like in attendance or something, and they mentioned them on a Raw or something. That they were trying really hard to make this show something. I think that was Opie and Anthony did something else. But yeah, that's where he's from. That's where I know him from. So he plays Frank, and Jonathan Stark plays Eddie, and they are Siamese twins, which we find out pretty early. The episode starts in these driving erratic and crazy. No, first they're driving normal. They're arguing, right? And then I think it's Eddie says, "Listen, we're never gonna get there the way you drive." So he slams on the gas of the car, forcing Frank to drive wild and erratic. And finally, they get to the place, and they're arguing about seeing a new doctor to help them out. And Frank is like, "Can't you understand? Nobody could help us with our problems." And Eddie's like, "We only have one problem, but it is a doozy or something." And then you see them step out of the car, and you see four legs drop down, and they're standing up together, and they're Siamese twins.
Yeah, that's the real early unveil there. That's like before that shitty comedy with Matt Damon.
Yeah,
and
Stuck on You.
It's Stuck on You.
Yeah. I
feel like if they took the movie into another direction like this, I think it could have been better. Instead of trying to make it this lame comedy.
You know what I would have said? This would have been a fantastic episode of Quantum Leap, the original Quantum Leap, not the new one. I mean, they could still do it for the new one, but I don't watch that fucking show. But I scrolled through it the other day to look at because I stopped at like episode 6, before episode 6, I think episode 6 I stopped, which was a good episode, I think. But then they saw that they did a teaser for Halloween one. Sorry to step away from talking about Tales from the Crypt for a second, but then they did. I saw in season 2 they did an episode that he went to the Salem witch trials, and I was like, oh my god, what? They just don't understand the idea of the fucking show. So it's just whatever. It was very frustrating. I was just like, oh god, they gotta stop watching because I would have. This is pathetic. But like the original Quantum Leap.
Yeah, it seemed like they're just doing that trope of just going back in a certain time period that people might know, but
whenever.
At least from what you explained to me, it was more about the people that you go into. It wasn't really the time period.
It's the people he's helping originally, and then season 5 they kind of went because they knew they might get canceled, so they kind of did things a little crazier and introduced new things. But still, at the end of the day, it was always about the people he was helping, and those stories were good stories. It was good acting, and it's just. I mean, the continuity wasn't great, but whatever. But anyway, it would have been much better if this was Sam Beckett and this was the old Quantum Leap. Idea of him being a Siamese twin is great. They had a lot of episodes where he was. They had a lot of. They had comic books of Quantum Leap too, but which I own some. But anyway, let's skip talk about that shit. Let's talk about this episode. So, which one was I? Which one's Hank and Frank? I forget already. Which one's Hank and Frank? Eddie is.
Well, Frank is Eddie's the degenerate, alcoholic, troublemaker. Yeah, Frank's kind of the straight man of the group or the episode. So yeah, that's the two of them.
Yeah, so Eddie's gross, and he starts looking at girls, and he's looking to get drunk and get fucked up because he's miserable with his life, because he's miserable being attached to his brother. And he wants to have his own life away from his brother, and he thinks he'd be much more happier if they were split. And Frank is already used to the life he's had for all these years with his brother. Mind you, one of them looks 50, the other one looks 40. So I don't know. I don't know how it goes, but they both go, and this is what I was going to ask you. So, I don't know if you've ever seen this. I've never seen this in my life. Have you ever seen a person at a bar reading a book?
You know, I was gonna bring that same thing up. I don't think I've ever seen anybody reading a book at a bar. But if you wouldn't be there if you were trying to read a book there.
I don't know, because there's a trope in like some movies I've seen this, and besides this, I don't know where else I've seen the same gimmick of somebody at a bar reading a book.
I think it's just a way for them to humanize the character, I guess, to kind of match the same level of maturity or intellect, I guess, towards Frank. I mean, that's kind of what we're getting at. Like, they're kind of alike. They're intellectuals in a way. They like the arts. But yeah, I've never seen anybody in real life reading a book at a bar.
Yeah. So Frank sees Jessica Harper, she's playing Marie, and they're reading a book, and they're both reading the same book by the same guy. And something about
coincidence?
Yeah, I think not, which we'll soon find out. But like, yeah, I forgot who the writer was. But it was something to serve. It was like, I don't know, something about man, like to serve man or some shit. And then the other guy was like, "Oh, this must be fate," because the title of her book was Man's Fate or whatever. So he's like, "Oh, you look familiar. Have I ever seen you before?" And I'm wondering, when I heard that line, I'm like, "Wait, did Eddie have her before?" Like, because when we find out, like, we'll get to that later, I guess. So
yeah, that's possible.
Yeah, she's like, "I don't know. I go to the symphony. Have you ever go?" And he was like, "I love the symphony." So they fall in love, or Frank falls in love right away, and he's smitten by this girl. And then she's like, "Do you want to dance?" And he's like, "Oh," because Eddie wants to dance. And he's like, "Do you want to dance?" And she's like, "Not really." And he's, "Oh, I got to go dance with my brother." And she's like, "Do you have to do everything with this guy?" And he's like, "Yeah, kind of."
He tries to tell her that, you know, they're twins, and he pulls him away to dance with some other girl that he's talking to at the bar.
Yeah.
But yeah, like since it's like the lit atmosphere, you know, it's not too bright, so nobody wouldn't see it or notice it that well. But it's up until when Marie was dancing with them, she gets in between them, and yeah, obviously since they're joined at the hip, she can't go through them. And then she sees them and say, "Ah, you guys are twins."
She didn't say you guys are twins. She goes, "You're connected."
You're connected.
And then they say, "Yeah, we're Siamese twins." And then the other girl that Eddie was with, she screams and
the
runs
record
away.
scratches.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I was like, come on. And then the dances were corny too. The dances they were doing, they were like 70s, which, by the way, though, I will be honest.
Their legs.
The 70s, people make fun of disco dancing, but if I was around the 70s, I think I would have been a disco dancer.
Yeah. Had some coke in the bathroom, you'd be having a good time.
Oh yeah, that'd be my scene, baby. But so he wants
Studio 54.
So dancing, not Studio 54. There's too many people. I'm like, ugh. That would have been like more like John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever.
Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah, move over. Let me take up the whole fucking thing and dance. But that's a great movie. People,
the tightest pants ever.
It's a good movie, and they picked the girl that she must have done something with the director, because she can't act, she can't dance, and she's not pretty. So I don't know why they casted her.
Yeah, but like Spielberg's wife in one of those Indiana
In
Jones
the
movies.
second one, yeah. But so after this encounter, this gives Frank the idea to finally see a doctor that Eddie was talking about that says it's possible for him to separate the two. So they go to this doctor's office, and he's kind of like eccentric a little bit, but this guy looks familiar. I don't know what he's in, but he looks.
Yeah, he's got some kind of German accent or something.
Yeah, but it's his
Some
face.
European accent.
He looks like his name is Ron Orbach. Ron Orbach. He looks different in his IMDb photo, but I don't know. He just looks like I've seen him in other things before, and he is still. No, he's not still working. He stopped working in 2017. But he just looks like I don't know. He says Clueless, Grand Theft Auto, Love Crimes. I don't know. He just has the face of another actor maybe that I've seen many times before on many different things. So, but yeah. So they go to this doctor, and he's telling them, basically tells them like, look, I could do it, but there's a 50% chance you're gonna die, or one of you will die, or you both die. No, there's a 50% chance you're gonna die, both of you. But there's also a 50% chance. That's the whole thing for Eddie. He's like, Frank's like no, like it's too
50%
risky.
chance we die, and then Eddie's 50% chance we get through it.
We live, yeah. So Frank's nervous about doing it.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't convinced by so the doctor's like, yeah, you got to come back when you guys have reached an agreement on this. So it was cool after that scene, getting to see their routine and seeing what all the shit they do together. This kind of reminds me of some of the A&E programs they used to run when they would cover Siamese twins. So it's similar in a way. They're brushing their teeth together, pissing together.
They have a good
working out
life
together.
They have a good life in a sense. Like I don't know how they get on that bike together. Well, they probably just scoot over in the car, because it's like the way they stuck the clothing they wore at the. How did they put? Well, I guess one leg, but like how does that piece?
I'm curious on how they make it work.
No, but no, not much.
Doesn't look like there's an opening.
No, yes, that's what I'm saying. Like the piece that connects them. How did they put their pants on and go to the club when it looked like it was one piece, like it was sewn together?
Yeah.
Like how does that come off? I'm trying to imagine it, and I guess.
Yeah, it's hard to.
I guess they're custom
It's
pants.
hard to see anything there, like a zipper or anything, but I don't see anything like that.
I don't know. They do the same thing with their pajamas, but then they have like, they brush their teeth together. They work out together at home. They have a big bed.
Random pajamas though.
Yeah, they were old
It was
cars.
like vintage cars or pajamas in white.
Mm-hmm. Well, in the comic, in the comic book, I believe that's the kind of car. One of the cars. If that's the kind of car that is their car in the comic book, but purple. They have a purple car in the comic, and it kind of looks like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice little nod then.
Yeah. Well, one of the car, like I think it's the red or the red and the blue ones. I think that's the car they have in the comic. Yeah, but they have a purple one in the comic, and the comic is similar but different, and it keeps it the suspense all the way to the end, the last panel that you find out they're Siamese twins. So for the most part, you don't know at all. You just see them together, and you just know they're both different names too. I believe in the.
That was the cool reveal at the end. Yeah, when you saw that they were connected at the hip.
Yeah, in
they
the
didn't really
comic.
make it obvious
Yeah.
in that story leading up to the end.
Yeah, and the comic is Frank and Mark, so they changed it to Frank and Eddie. I don't know, works better, Frank and Eddie. But they changed so much. They changed a lot from the comic to the episode, but it works so well. And I was reading the comic, I told you when I was like, why did they? Because that was a good comic. But then I go, oh, I know why they changed it. Because the most interesting part is the first part of the panel, not kind of the comic, where one's being untried for. Anyway, I don't want to. Anyway, so this episode continues on. She calls him, Marie. I forgot to say where Marie's from. She's from the movie Suspiria. She was an actress on Suspiria. And she was the main actress in Suspiria, and it's the Dario Argento version. If you haven't seen Suspiria, check it out. The music is fantastic. They did a remake with Kate Blanchett, I think, and that's good too. But it's different, totally different than the 70s film. It was a fucking great movie. The music is so great. The lighting that Dario Argento does in that movie. It's about a cult, a witch. You gotta watch it. It's interesting. But
It's been on my list to watch the original, and I know that there was a remake. Prior to you were going to go on with Marie calling them. Yeah, prior to that, we just see them in the kitchen real quick. But
Oh
you
yeah,
get a,
yeah, 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 yeah.
you get a little a little unveiled that when Eddie drinks, Frank gets drunk too. He feels it,
Yes.
and he's still trying to press him on signing the paper. Cool little special effects that they did with them. You get a little shot of them when he's about to threaten to cut them apart, and since Frank was still hesitant about it, Eddie was pissed off that he still hasn't signed the paperwork, and pulls out a knife and threatens to cut them in between. That was a cool little shot of them. You see the actual flesh and stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty good special effect.
It was not bad for the
makeup.
time. Yeah, but what
time, yeah.
the part was that he was trying to get him to sign the release so they could get the operation. He's saying, think of all the things you could do. Think you could do everything you've always wanted to do that I'm holding you back from doing. And then he's like, no,
Sleep on my side.
He's like, he's too dangerous. And then he goes, well, I'll fucking cut us right now. And he pulls the pants down. You see it. And he's like, I'll do it right now. And then Frank's reasoning for not wanting to do it is he's worried he's going to be lonely. So like he does have, even though he doesn't hate him so much yet, he's used to him being this annoying fuck, but that's his brother.
Well, yeah, we're used to somebody being around.
Yeah, but the comic is different. The comic, he hates him. Like Frank hates his brother in the comic because his brother's just evil. And his brother just always has been fucking with him his whole life. And so much so that the father hated Mark, which is Eddie, also. But then that father hangs himself in the comic because of his son. I think he hits him, and then the mother gets mad at him, and he goes and he kills himself. And then the mother finds out, and the mother blames Eddie. I mean, the mother blames Frank for the death of the father, saying that he always cried and everything, and said that his brother was hurting him, like he was, like basically saying like your father thought that Eddie or Mark was evil because of you, because you kept, like, that's why he believed that, and it's all your fault. He killed himself because he couldn't bear whatever of hitting his son, which is not the truth. Which the mother finds out later on when the son is accused of something, when Mark is accused of doing something to another girl, and she's like, you did do it. Like she basically catches him fighting or complaining or admitting to it to Frank, even though Frank knows because he was there, right? So he's like, whatever. So then the mother finds out, and she's like, I think she basically like has a heart attack after or something. I forgot what happens to her. So she dies, and Mark doesn't give a shit, and Frank is just like miserable, and it continues on until Frank meets a girl. So in this show, it's the same thing. So Marie calls him after he's attempting to slice him apart. And she's like, listen, I'm sorry how I stormed out. I don't know how she got his number. I'm sorry how I stormed out because according to what we saw, she shouldn't have ran out like that.
Yeah, and as we get to the unveiling, that starts to add up a bit.
Yeah, but
he takes her to the orchestra, and Eddie's all dressed like shit, and they're all like chits and nice to go to the orchestra, and he cooks her dinner, and he's trying to be all romantic and everything, and just Eddie's just all fucking wasted as all hell, just ruining the whole mood.
And Frank gets drunk too because, like you said earlier, when one gets drunk or something, the other one feels it. So Eddie's going crazy, getting wasted and taking pills, and Frank is feeling the effect that he can't have this lovely evening with Marie. And Marie is kind of like, even though she looks really old, I feel bad. She probably is old. I think she was born in the 40s. So this came out in the 90s. She's like fucking 60 in this. Actually, I'm incorrect. I think she's 40 technically in this episode, but she just looks older. And that sucks. I apologize. But she does look very old. She looks like an older Mary Steenburgen from Step Brothers, the mom from Step Brothers. But
that reminds me of Sally Fields a bit.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen her before in something else, but I might have just been mistaking her with Sally Fields.
Yeah, that's another thing sometimes. But yeah, so Eddie's really getting drunk and saying stupid shit, and he's like, oh, you like this? This is the kind of party I throw, is with a dildo and this, a 12-inch dildo and this, or whatever. A 12-inch vibrator, he says. Like, these are my kind of parties, babe, or whatever. And then she's like, listen, I gotta go home. I can't do this. Like, this is terrible, you know. And basically, he's like, I had a wonderful time, and I would drive you home if I wasn't so inebriated, you know. And then she's like, yeah, you know, like, she kind of like, what is she? She like brushes him off, basically. Like, she gives him a kiss goodnight, but I don't think she just makes him fall, like, makes him hopeful, and like, oh, it came, you, like, he thought the night was ruined too, but he was drunk. And he knows Eddie tried to ruin the night, but she still kissed him goodnight, which means to him, she still likes me, right? So he's like, that was her job. She tried to show that she hated being there, that Eddie's a pain in the ass, but she still kissed him because she liked him. So that worked out for him. So he's like sitting there, like, with so stupid, staring, smiling, so happy or whatever. I'm in love. And then that you probably want to say this part, because then it cuts to after that night, they go out again.
They're in bed, and you're laying down in bed, and you just hear the bed creaking, and you know, Frank's trying to smooth talk his way with Marie, and then the next shot we get is Eddie with like some prostitute whipping him, is riding him like a cowboy,
Animal.
like a
Just
making it all uncomfortable.
Yeah, like a cowboy. Yeah, with the what's those? I forgot the movie. They made a movie about it with Luke Perry.
Whips.
Yeah, the whip, where she's like whipping him, but she's using that dominatrix thing, and she's just like torturing him, and he's handcuffed to the bed. The prostitute handcuffed her to the bed, and Marie's like, this is too weird. Like, I can't be like, your brother. Like, I'm laying down next to you in bed because your brother is getting dry humped by this prostitute. And then she's like, I gotta go. So she walks out, and then he starts getting mad at Eddie. And then he's like, I told you to stop it and play dice or whatever. And he's like, well, sign the paper. So then we go to the bathroom, and we get the big reveal. And what's that reveal?
Yeah, the reveal is that her alongside that other prostitute. They're both prostitutes. I mean, just Eddie hired them to try to convince Frank to eventually sign the paper. Oh, you know, in the hopes that, you know, he's found love, and then he can actually live a normal life without Eddie. So it's kind of a bit of a fucked up thing to do. But like you said, it is weird how they had this unveiling, because she's like 41-year-old prostitute.
Yeah.
I don't know if I buy it, but that's the reveal we got. She didn't really give off those vibes, but yeah, she's in cahoots with Eddie to.
That's the one thing she
manipulate the brother to eventually sign the paperwork.
Yeah, she seems like a house mom. So if she's a prostitute, she did a fantastic job, because she does not come across as one at all. And then, that was her job. Her job was to make him think that they were in love, and that there's the only way it would work is that if they got separated, because Eddie's such a piece of garbage. So Frank is like,
and Frank mentioned that it's been a couple of weeks. Have passed, and he's like really in love with her, and you know, he's asked her to marry him. So that's kind of where we got there at that point. I've heard it the first time I viewed it. I thought it was, it's only been like a day or two. That's pretty quick, but yeah, it was a couple weeks apparently.
Yeah, and also
so she walks out on him because she just can't be around it, and Eddie was tied to the bed, handcuffed, and he tries to drag him out there to try to go after her.
Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, it's also been like, it was a week before she even went on the first date, because they had a date, like they scheduled a date where she called, and then it was a week because he didn't shower for a week before they went to the symphony. He didn't shower because he goes, I know you haven't showered for a week, and that was before the first date. So that was already like, they set it up for the symphony date, and then they went out, and then they continued on for a while, and then now he's like, I need to go, I need to get her, give me the key. He won't give him the key. Finally he gets it, he gets out, and then they start fighting each other, and it was interesting, you know, the fights. It was pretty decent. Cool
little shot where he banged their head against the photo of them as kids. That was a cool little shot. And they're fighting in the kitchen, hitting him against the rack of pans.
Yep. And then they finally like sit down, and he goes, well, just sign it then, right? Just sign it. So that he's about to sign it, And all of a sudden, Marie walks through the front door.
She comes back, yeah.
And she's like, she admits everything to him. And she's like, Hank, for Eddie hired me. I don't know if she says I'm a prostitute. She just says, I was all set up. I was helped to convince you, to have the operation. But I fell in love with you. And I don't want you to have the operation. It's too dangerous. And he goes, oh, I love you too. And she's like, and if it still stands, I will marry you. Because I think he asked her, right? When she, when she came back from the, before she left? Okay. Yeah, but when she came back from the bathroom, that's when he asked her. Because, yes, okay, that's when it was. So then, she says, yes, she'll marry him. They start kissing and they're so happy. And he says, let's build a little house together for the three of us. How do you feel about kids? And then he's just like, now I'll never get rid of him. Because he just, I thought it was he wanted to be like separated so they could both live there. No, he just hated his brother. It's Eddie that hated Frank. And this is really like they went back to the comic where Mark was the piece of shit. Right here, you see that Eddie's the piece of shit. He hates it being attached to his brother because he can't live the life of debauchery that he wants to live. As we see how he acts, that's him. And he has this goody two shoes brother that likes everything nice, and he just can't stand him. So he fucking stabs her with a butcher knife in her back and kills her. And then she's like, "What? Like, why did you do that? You killed her. You killed her." He's like, "Yeah, whatever." So he calls 911 and confesses to the whole thing. And then Frank's like, "They're gonna put us in the gas chamber." And I think Eddie goes, "Yeah, I don't know. Forgot what he says right there. What does he say?"
Well, he was just under the illusion that they wouldn't put him under any kind of, like electrocution or anything like that, because it would be cruel, unusual punishment. Is what he's saying, because they were tied to the hip.
Yeah, because if they killed one, they'd be killing both. So he was like, "Yeah, what are they gonna do? Kill us? They're not gonna kill us, right?" Because so then Frank just like thinks about it. And he's like, he's right. So he just handcuffs him to a table and starts drinking and taking all the pills, every pill that Eddie used to take to get high and drunk. He's doing that. He's
they were
drinking
sleeping pills.
Yeah. Yes, the sleeping pills earlier. But he was taking those and drinking like crazy. But there were other pills there too, so I don't know if they were only sleeping pills. So he was.
Yeah, it could have been. It could have been anything. He just starts chugging vodka and all these pills.
Yeah. And then it's funny because when he drinks it, it's the other one feels it more rapidly.
Well, it's funny how quickly he felt it after like chugging that, and then in even less than a minute he's already wasted. I don't know if it works that way, but yeah, I guess that's the gist.
It's funny. I think he was already fucked up anyway earlier, probably. So they should have done a little bit more where that Frank was a little drunk because his brother was really drunk, or whatever, vice versa, whatever the fuck. So anyway, he says, "You're a murderer," or whatever, and he gets up. Eddie passes out, and he gets up. This is the only problem I have with this episode now. This is the only problem because he gets up and he uses her blood, to sign his name on the release, so they can have the surgery. Now, if they didn't show him do that's the only part. If they didn't show it, would have been a better reveal. But honestly, it's a good reveal because as a kid, at least for me, when they go to the next scene, it's great. So in the next scene, they're in the hospital, and Eddie wakes up. He's like, "Oh, I have such a headache," and he's next to his brother, obviously, right? And he looks at the nurse and he's like, "Oh, hey, I forgot." He uses a line every time when he's trying to flirt with a girl. And I think he says
like something like, "I bet there's some corset underneath what she's wearing."
Yeah.
Or something.
I don't know if he says that to her or not, but whatever. Then he hits her, tells her "Oh, I have such a hangover. Get me another beer, whatever." And she goes, "Well, you have some visitors." And then it's the cops waiting there, and Eddie's like, "Oh yeah, that's right." He's ready to go to jail. He's like, "Yep." But that's miserable because they'll both be in jail. You know what I mean? He's just so happy.
Yeah, he didn't really think about
so.
it.
I think he didn't
that far ahead.
I think he thought like the comic does in the first panel. That's why it says the comic in the first panel, because in the first panel of the comic, he's in court with his brother, as Frank and Mark are in court, and the judge is like, "I have to let you go." Because that's the first panel. And he confesses to murdering the Frank's girlfriend. He confesses to basically having his father commit suicide, right? Like, or forcing it, or raping another girl, I think, something like that. So he confesses to everything, and the judge is like, I have to let you go because it would be cruel. And then Frank is yelling at the judge, like, how can you do this? You're letting him get off, right? And he's like, you'll suffer if I send you both to jail or if I kill him. And, you know, I'm like, you did nothing wrong. So, although he would be considered, in today's climate, he'd be considered what was it?
Accomplice.
An accomplice, yes, an accomplice. So, I don't know. So anyway, he goes, yes, Frank, we're going to jail, or we're freaks or something. And he goes,
yeah, they won't do nothing to us freaks.
Yeah, they won't do nothing to us freaks. And he goes, I'm not a freak, Eddie. You are. And he goes, Frank, you're over there.
And then they pull the bed away from each other. You see that they got the surgery. That was really good. But yeah, the funny thing about that line is, Frank uses it too with the nurse when he gets taken away. It's sent something under that crisp white uniform. I'm thinking of a studded leather corset. It's the same line he's using, itching to come out.
Yeah,
the same line he's been using throughout the whole episode.
Yeah, it was Frank uses it to the nurse, not the vice versa. Eddie just tells her to get him a drink, but yes, Frank uses it to her after they pull Eddie away. But I love that line where they pull Eddie away, and he goes, "Frank, you're over there." And he says, "Yeah, I got that surgery." And he's like, "Bye-bye, fucker." You know, it was hilarious. That was great. And then he says the line to the nurse, which kind of shows you, maybe a little bit of Eddie finally rubbed off, or maybe since they split somehow, maybe there's I don't know, there's an equal amount of each other now, in themselves, if that makes any sense. Like that.
Yeah, I can see that.
Something like that, because now why did he say that line? That kind of like, he's not that guy. All of a sudden, but maybe they split, and maybe he's got some of that in him. That was interesting, but great episode. I think I really like this episode. I love the reveal at the end, even though, like I said, if they cut that one part out, it would have been better. But in the comic, at the end, it's a girl that's in love with Frank, and Eddie was like, I was always, and she does accept his marriage proposal, and Eddie's pissed because he's like, I always loved you, and so he gets mad and he kills her. So then they go to court, and he confesses it's like a back, like the beginning open panel starts with the court, and then it goes back to when they're kids and their whole life story, and then it goes to when he killed her, and then they finally get out of jail and they're shaving in the bathroom, and he's like, I think I'll do this. The reason why I did this is because she liked you and I couldn't let you be happy, basically. And then he was like he's basically like, Mark or Eddie was telling Frank, I'm going to make your life miserable because I've always been like that because I just don't like you. Like a bully. And he's like, what's going to happen? I think I'm going to do this and that, and they can never put us in jail. Like, he's talking about doing all this shit. And then Frank's like, I know a way to end this all. And then Frank slits his own throat.
You ain't got the guts, Frank.
Yeah.
With the razor blade.
Yes, with the razor blade. He cuts his own throat, and then that's what he
Crazy
dies.
How much they covered in just the
whole thing.
Limited amount of pages.
Yeah, in 4 pages, you never know to the last page. To the last panel. Last little
Yeah,
box.
the last panel was them on the ground, and you see that they're connected, and the brothers' throats slit open. Great comic too.
Yeah.
I mean, it has the same vibe and same idea. That they did with the episode, so it's not a huge drastic departure. It has
it's the same
idea
elements
of them
and
being
ideas.
Siamese twins. It's just the way that they
and how they get
told the story is different.
Yes, and they did a good job. Both versions I like. I like the comic. I thought it was great, and then I was like, why didn't they do the exact same version of the episode? And I was like, because the government now, or back in the would say they have to have the operation. But then they're still putting this guy's life at risk, so the judge would have to go by whatever a doctor would say, and they'd have several doctors. It'd be a big court fucking proceeding. So I guess they didn't want to do that.
Yeah, it sounds like a mess. I don't know how that would go about in real life.
Yeah, so they were just like, no. So, but yeah, this was a great episode. What would you give this episode rating-wise?
It's solid. There's nothing too crazy that they do in this one. The effects that they did show for, Marie getting stabbed in the back was pretty cool. Seeing them connected. for a little bit. They had a pretty good chemistry, the both actors, for what they were playing, and it was just pretty straightforward. Nothing really stood out to me, I guess, with the way they filmed it or anything. I guess it didn't need to be, but yeah, I would have liked to see a little bit more creativity there, I guess, with the cinematography or the lighting. But otherwise, the whole presentation is a solid episode. I mean, we're obviously a little bit more energetic about this one than Mute Witness to Murder. Yeah. So I'll give it a solid 4 out of 5.
Yes, I was going to do.
That's a good number.
Yeah, I was going to give it a 4. I was thinking 4.5. 4 or 5 is good because 4.5. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's not bad. It's a good episode. I like it. You know, I like.
It's a good one. It's a good one leading up to the finale.
Yes.
Really solid 3 episodes to end the season.
I like this episode. It was good. I think we gave Television Terror 5, which is fucking great. This one, 4 out of 5 is good. It's a really good one. It's great. Like I said, if he just didn't fucking sign it, if we didn't see him sign it and the reveal was like he just dies, or he's gonna kill himself. Let's say he would have done that, like he was gonna kill himself, and then we just black out, right? And they're like, oh fuck, did he do it? Did he not do it? Or right? And then that I think it would have been a 5. I think I would have given it a 5. But this is great. I like this episode a lot. I like it.
Yeah, for sure. I think that would have been interesting to see if they maybe stuck close to the ending of the comic. Maybe have somehow Frank kill his brother.
I like him take the
maybe
knife out of her
after
back.
waking up from all the booze and stuff they drank. Maybe he was trying to kill them both, but it didn't happen. And then the minute he wakes up, just tries to get at him with something, maybe.
I guess with the signing part is kind of like because it was signed and the blood wasn't like good. Maybe I don't know. Like it wasn't like hard or like it looked like it was barely written on it. So maybe it could be like, oh, maybe it didn't work because he signed it, whatever. But I liked it. I loved it. I thought it was great. I don't know how they would have done that with him being drugged up. I think they would have waited till he sobered up and then told him. Then I think Frank would have been, Eddie would have been like, no, we're not separating now. No, I'm not into it, or whatever. But
oh yeah, for sure.
But the show is great. I love this. This was a great episode. This is a 4 out of 5. I think it's a very solid episode. I'm surprised. I'm not sure what IMDb has it ranked, but IMDb's rankings are all over the place all the time. It's considered it's 7.3 out of 10. I think it should be maybe an 8 out of 10, to be honest. But
closer to
9
that.
10.
A lot of these are, I think, just user voted.
Yeah, which they're all. I rated
episodes. I mean, the only one on this season that's the rated highest is Television Terror.
I'm surprised. This one should be rated high. The last 3 and the first one, which was
How Meanest to Murder is 6.5 and Lower Birth is the same score.
Shit.
I don't know if I agree with that.
They're shit. The ratings are shit. They really are. On IMDb, they've always been shit. Like
Corman's Calamity, I think could use a little bit higher rating.
Yeah, Dead Right isn't even considered. This is rated the same as Dead Right. That's incorrect. Dead Right is a 5. This is a 4. It would be a 10, and this would be a 9. Like I have it. I have my ranking on IMDb. I'm looking. I have this episode as a 9.
Dead Right should be rated higher too.
Yeah, Dead Right's a 10. No. On IMDb it's a 7. It's the same as this one, 7.3, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, at least a 9. That's a good.
Definitely, it's a 10 for me.
And the
Switch was a 9.
Too.
I put a 9. Yeah, I put the Switch at a 9. But anyway. This is a great episode. This is a great season. We're coming to the season finale, which is the next episode. So stay tuned. We'll see you next, or 2 weeks from now, when we review, or we talk about The Secret, which I can't wait to look for that comic because I want to see if it's like the comic. I love this episode. This was my favorite. This is how we started. The next episode is how we started this podcast to begin with.
It really was. Yeah, it was one of the earlier ones that you recommended I watch.
Yeah, me and Alan were talking, and I was like, I remember, and I said, oh, I remember this, and I was just like, oh, because we were talking about Freddy's Nightmares, how shit it is, and then I was like, you know what's good? Tales from the Crypt, and then we started talking. Oh, because you started. I don't know if you started watching them already or whatever, but I told you. You
started recommending him some, and I started watching it from the beginning while you were starting your Freddy's Nightmare commentary. Yeah. So it's kind of all connected. Yeah. Funny how something shit brought something good out of
that. Yeah, it's
out
true.
of that.
But the secret
Thanks, Freddy's Nightmares.
Yeah. But The Secret's the one really that I was like, it was my favorite, and I thought you saw it. He didn't even see it. I thought he saw it. I was told the whole episode. I was like, it was fucking great. And then he was like, yeah,
Well,
I've
you
never
told
seen
me.
them.
I was like, I had to watch it.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I've never seen these. I was like, what the fuck? Why would you? I was like, if I knew you didn't see these, I wouldn't have told you the ending. Because whatever. We'll get to that one in 2 weeks. So we'll see you guys then. Remember, we got a new merch up. The Creeps of the Crypt Welcome to the Ritter House shirt is available at grosscrusadersmerch.com. We also have American Creep shirt, which is of Charlie Marno and his beautiful wife. I forgot her name. Mrs. Marno, I'll call her, played by, you know who that is. And then we have a Family Ties shirt, which is of the ventriloquist dummy, which is a nice shirt too. I forgot his name.
Yeah, really great. You guys gotta check that one out. It's inspired by like the first issue of the Goosebumps book, right?
Oh, the new one, yes. The new shirt is inspired by Welcome to Dead House, the first book, which wasn't really a good book. I'm surprised Goosebumps kicked off, but I think mostly it's the covers that really kicked off the Goosebumps franchise to be popular.
I mean, it made you want to read them for sure.
Yeah.
It had really good covers.
Because that book, the first one wasn't really good. Was this the second one? Welcome to the something about the basement, Monster in the Basement. Well, one of those was really good, and then they kept getting, some of them kept getting good, some of them kept getting garbage, but whatever. But yes, really a cool shirt. You can check it out. I think I gotta order one for myself, to be honest. So anyway,
Yeah, same.
yeah, so check out ghostcrusadersmerch.com. You can find us on X at Creeps of Crypt. Just search Creeps of Crypt, and you can follow us on X over there. There's a locals that will be posting stuff from Tales from the Crypt also. The radio shows, they used to have Sci-Fi and Tales from the Crypt worked on a bunch of radio episodes. There's about 8 of them. They'll be posted on our locals. It's in the description. Anywhere you're listening to this, Apple or Spotify or YouTube or Rumble or wherever, there's a link down below. You can go to ghostcrusaders.locals.com or locals.ghostcrusaders.com. I'm not sure which one it is, but just go over there. You'll see the link where it says community. Click on that. $2 a month. There'll be extra stuff put over there. Yeah, so that's
Just
that.
Google it. You'll find it.
Yeah, I don't know what else. Anyway, I don't know what else to say, what else to promote, but that's it. So
Yeah, you can follow me on X as well. I'll be under Splinter47. And again, I'm so sorry for the mislabeling of the titles. This is not the full episode
yes, it's
of
not
My
a
Brother's
force.
Keeper. Just want to let you guys know.
Yeah, we apologize again for all the people out there that felt the need to tell us how they were duped by a thing that says on the title, a Tales from the Crypt podcast. It's not. It says Creeps of the Crypt, and then Tales from the Crypt podcast. I mean, I don't understand it. I'm sorry. It's even in the description of the videos or the whatever. I guess they wouldn't have been duped if they would have listened to us on Spotify or iTunes, because they would have known. Well, anyway, yes. Sorry. I'm very sorry. Anyway, we'll talk to you guys next time.
Peace.